Fundamental rights and fundamental duties. Fundamental rights. We have seen how the emphasis was laid on the main ideals of the Constitution, like sovereignty, socialism, secularism, etc. Now we will see how these ideals got translated into rights and duties, and how the marginalized communities like SC and ST and other backward classes have realized and availed their rights. Every state tries to provide best facilities to all the citizens so that development can take place. This development is possible only when the citizens have some rights. The government works for the welfare of the people. Rights, which are considered essential or fundamental for the well-being of a person, are called fundamental rights. Right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, right to constitutional remedies, right to equality. All persons are equal before the law. This means that all persons shall be equally protected by the laws of the country. It also states that no citizen can be discriminated against on the basis of their religion, caste, or sex. Every person has access to all public places, including playgrounds, hotels, shops, etc. The state cannot discriminate against anyone in matters of employment. The practice of untouchability has also been abolished. The Constitution establishes equality before law and equality in protection by law, irrespective of status, caste, creed, religion, sex, or color. Equal opportunity in all fields of public life is also guaranteed by the Constitution of India. The Constitution also puts an end to all titles like Rai Sahib, Khan Bahadur, Sardar Bahadur, etc. Only gallantry medals and academic degrees can be conferred. Right to freedom. This includes the right to freedom of speech and expression, the right to form associations, the right to move freely and reside in any part of the country, and the right to practice any profession, occupation, or business. But this freedom is not without restraint. Unrestricted freedom can lead to lawlessness and may create problems. So, in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India, certain restrictions can be imposed on the exercise of this right to freedom. Right against exploitation. The Constitution prohibits trafficking, forced labor, and employment of children under 14 years of age. The Constitution does not allow bonded labor. Such exploitations have been banned. Under our Constitution, special concessions for the welfare of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and other backward classes have been made. Right to freedom of religion. Religious freedom is provided to all citizens. Every person has the right to practice, profess, and propagate the religion of their choice. India being a secular state, the people have right to follow any religion, and all the religions are equal in the eyes of law. People can propagate the religion of their choice, construct places of worship, and they can also set up their own educational institutions. Cultural and educational rights. The Constitution states that all minorities, religious or linguistic, can set up their own educational institutions in order to preserve and develop their culture. Minorities based on religions as well as language have the right to establish and administer educational institutions. The state gives financial assistance to all the institutions on an equal footing. Right to constitutional remedies. This allows citizens to move the court if they believe that any of their fundamental rights have been violated by the state, citizen, or any other authority for justice. The courts can enforce the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution. Had this right not been there, all other rights would have been meaningless. Every right has its limitations. These rights can be suspended when the President declares a state of emergency in the country. Such suspension is only temporary. As soon as the emergency is over, the rights are restored. Importance of fundamental rights are: Fundamental rights make sure that all the individuals should get the freedom to make their life happy and worth living. Fundamental rights provide equal status and opportunity to every citizen. Fundamental rights save the people from getting exploited by the state or any individual. Nature of fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are universal in application. They are guaranteed to all the citizens without any discrimination on the basis of caste, color, creed, sex, and religion. Fundamental rights are justiciable. If these rights are violated, the citizens can directly move the Supreme Court or High Court. Fundamental rights are not absolute. Every right is restricted by certain limitations in the larger interest of the society. For example, the right to freedom under Article 19 is limited to the extent it does not prove harmful to other citizens. Some of the rights, like the right to freedom, can be suspended temporarily during the time of emergency, danger of war, or internal disturbances. There are certain laws which limit some of these rights in public interest. The Maintenance of Internal Security Act, MISA, Defense of India Rules, DIR, Preventive Detention Act, PDA, etc., exist in order to safeguard the interests of the nation and abridge these rights to a great extent. The Indian Parliament has also passed another law, the National Security Act, to safeguard the interests and security of the nation. However, the operation of these measures has been restricted to the minimum extent, and only a competent authority, like a court of law, can authorize their operation. Fundamental duties. Rights and duties go hand in hand. There are two sides of the same coin. Every right carries with it a duty. It is possible to enjoy rights only when others are performing their duties. Rights and duties are equally important. Our Constitution has laid down certain duties for the citizens along with their right, and the same are given here. Respect our national symbols. To abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions, the national flag and national anthem. Follow noble ideas. To cherish and follow some noble ideas which inspired our national struggle for freedom. To keep sovereignty intact. To uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. To promote harmony. Promoting harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, irrespective of religious, linguistic, and regional or sectional diversities. To preserve rich heritage. To value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. To protect our environment. To protect and improve the national environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and have compassion for living creatures. Develop scientific spirit. Developing scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. To protect public property. To protect public property and to abjure violence. Defending the country. To defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. Striving towards excellence. To strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity, so that the nation constantly rises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. Nothing can be gained without paying a price. Every right implies some duty. These duties make us good and responsible citizens. Duties have been added to make the citizens patriotic and make them realize the importance of sovereignty and integrity of the country. The duties have been added to promote the idea of harmony in India among the people, to strengthen the nation. An evaluation of these duties. The duties contained in Part 4A of the Constitution, as cited here, merely define what the state expects from the citizens in return for the rights embodied in Part 3 of the Constitution. However, some critics doubt whether the inclusion of these duties would serve any useful purpose or not, because some of the duties have not been clearly worded. Words like scientific temper and humanism can be variously interpreted. There is no coercive machinery for the enforcement of these duties. Hence, they say that the chapter on duties will remain a pious hope till some more amendments and additions to Part 4A are made. But the view of the critics is not justified. Nothing can be gained without paying a price. If we want certain rights, we will have to perform certain duties also. Every right implies a duty. These duties make us not only good, but also responsible citizens. Fundamental duties have put the fundamental rights in the right perspective. They have balanced one thing with the other. Fundamental duties have been added to make the citizens patriotic and make them realize the importance of protecting the sovereignty and integrity of their country. Fundamental duties have been incorporated in the Constitution of India to promote the idea of harmony in the land of diversities and to strengthen the nation. Efforts made for the marginalized communities to realize their rights. The Constitution as well as the government have made sincere efforts for the welfare of the marginalized communities. Example, the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, and other backward castes to realize their rights. Constitutional provisions. According to Article 15(1) of the Indian Constitution, there will be no discrimination on the basis of creed, race, sex, caste, or birthplace. But if any special provision is made for the backward classes, including the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes, it will not be considered discrimination. Article 17 of the Constitution has banned the practice of untouchability. Now it is a punishable offence. According to Article 25(2)(b), all the religious institutions of the Hindus will remain open for all the Hindu sections and classes. According to Article 29(2), admission to any educational institution of the government or government-aided institution cannot be denied to any citizen of India on the basis of creed, caste, race or language. According to Article 335, full consideration will be given to the claims of SCs and STs for appointments in the service and posts in the central and state government offices. According to Article 338, the President of India will appoint a special officer who will inquire and report to the President about the implementation of the safeguards guaranteed by the Constitution for the scheduled castes and tribes. According to Article 339, a commission will be instituted for inquiry and report to the President about the administration of scheduled areas and the welfare of the scheduled tribes in the states. Article 46 of the Directive Principles of State Policy provides that the state will protect and develop the educational and economic interests of the weaker sections, especially scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, and will protect them from the social injustice and exploitation. Article 330 and 332 give the right of reservation of seats to the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies according to the proportion of their population to the total population in a state. Efforts made by the government. In pursuance of these constitutional provisions, certain steps have been taken for the welfare and upliftment of the weaker sections of the society, especially the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, and the OBCs. Some jobs under the government are reserved for the scheduled castes, 15%, scheduled tribes, 7.5%, and OBCs, 27%. Some seats for them are also reserved in the educational institutions. Some constituencies of the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies are reserved for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe candidates. From these constituencies, only a scheduled caste or a scheduled tribe candidate can contest the elections. Coaching and training for various competitive examinations are provided to improve the representation of SCs and STs in various services. Providing textbooks to scheduled castes and scheduled tribe students of engineering and medical courses, scholarship and passage grants for higher education abroad, construction of hostels for providing residential facilities to SC and ST girls studying in schools, colleges, and universities. Most of these provisions are common to both scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Launching vocational training in tribal areas and opening educational institutions for the promotion of female literacy in these areas. No person belonging to the scheduled castes or the scheduled tribes can be prevented from entering restaurants, hotels, temples, or any other public place. They cannot be denied the use of public wells and tanks. Public health centers and clinics have been established in the rural and tribal areas. Separate welfare departments have been set up in different states and union territories to protect and promote their interests. No doubt, much has been done by the government to uplift the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes, but still, much depends on the cooperation of the society and the change in the attitude of the people. The people must treat everybody alike. Progress is slow, but gradually things are improving. The people belonging to these groups are becoming economically and socially better off. This was what Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the chief architect of the Indian Constitution, wanted. More and more members of these communities are now becoming teachers, doctors, engineers, etc., and serving the nation. These groups are not deterred by the long journey ahead and march forward towards a better and brighter future. But work of reform and legislation should continue till these people rise to the level of other sections of the society.